The stars looked different out here. Deho stood in front of the main window of his ship, watching the distant points of light. He had been a captain for 10 years now, and he still found moments like this peaceful. His ship was called Silwa's Dream, named after his daughter back on Earth. It was not a military vessel. It was just a cargo freighter, moving supplies between human colonies and alien trading posts. The ship was small. Only 4 people worked on it. Deho was the captain. He was 42 years old with gray starting to show in his black hair. His left arm was metal from the elbow down, a replacement from an old war. He never talked about that war much. Behind him, Hana walked onto the bridge. She was 28 and the ship's navigator. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel, checking their course. Hana was smart, probably the smartest person Deho had ever worked with. She could calculate jump routes in her head faster than most computers. "We are approaching the neutral zone," Hana said. Her voice was calm, but Deho heard something else underneath. Concern, maybe? The neutral zone was the space between human territory and the territories of other alien species. It was supposed to be safe, protected by galactic concordant law, but laws only worked when people followed them. "How long until we clear it?" Deho asked. 6 hours if nothing goes wrong." Deho nodded. 6 hours. They would be fine. They had made this route 20 times before without problems. Down in the engine room, Taewon was working on the cooling system. He was 35, quiet, and good with machines. He could fix almost anything with just basic tools and patience. The engines hummed smoothly under his care. In the medical bay, Bora was organizing supplies. She was the youngest crew member at 23, fresh out of medical school. This was her first real job in space. She loved it, though. Every day was different out here. The alarm changed everything. Red lights flashed across the bridge. Hana's hands flew over the controls. 3 ships coming in fast, she said quickly. No identification signals. They are not responding to hails. Deho felt his chest tighten. Pirates worse, Vorgath. The word hung in the air like a curse. The Vorgath were warriors, a species that valued strength above everything else. They were tall, powerful, and brutal. Most species in the Concordat avoided them. The Vorgath did not care about trade or diplomacy. They cared about fighting, hunting, and proving their dominance. "Evasive patterns," Deho ordered. "Get us out of here," Hana tried. She was good at her job. The ship turned and dove, engines pushing as hard as they could, but the Vorgath ships were faster. They were built for hunting. Blue energy beams cut through space, hitting the freighter's shields. The ship shook. "Shields at 60%, Hana said. Another hit. 40%, Taewon's voice came through the intercom. "Captain, I can give you more speed, but the engines will overheat." "Do it," Deho said. The ship lurched forward. For a moment, Deho thought they might make it. Then the Vorgath fired something different. Not energy beams, but a pulse weapon. It hit the ship hard. Every light went out. The engines died. They were floating dead in space. "Ion cannon," Hana whispered. "They disabled us." Deho hit the intercom button. "Everyone listen to me. We have been disabled. Vorgath are boarding us. Do not fight them. I repeat, do not fight them. Stay calm and follow their orders." Bora's young voice came back, shaking. "Captain, what do they want?" Deho did not answer. He did not want to scare her more. But he knew what the Vorgath wanted. They did not raid ships for cargo. They raided ships for people. The boarding was quick and violent. Metal screeched as the Vorgath cut through the airlock. 6 warriors poured into the ship. They were massive, each one nearly 7 feet tall. Their armor was dark red and black, covered in spikes and symbols. Their faces were hidden behind helmets that made them look like demons. One of them grabbed Taewon by the throat and lifted him off the ground with one hand. Taewon did not fight. He knew it would be useless. The Vorgath dropped him and moved on. They gathered the crew in the cargo bay. Deho, Hana, Taewon, and Bora stood together, hands raised. The Vorgath warriors surrounded them, weapons ready. Then another figure entered the ship. This one was different. He wore no helmet. His face was scarred, his eyes were yellow, and he walked with absolute confidence. This was their leader. "I am Warlord Thexron," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "You are now prisoners of the Vorgath hunting clan. Your ship is worthless to us, but you might have value." Deho stepped forward slightly. "We are protected under concordant law. This is an illegal raid." Thexron laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "The Concordat does not care what happens in the neutral zone. And even if they did, you would be dead before they arrived. He walked closer, looking at each of them. Humans, you are weak creatures, soft, but you will serve a purpose. You will fight in the arena of blood. Bora made a small sound of fear. Hana put a hand on her shoulder to steady her. Deho kept his face blank. He knew about the arena of blood, everyone did. It was a place on the Vorgath homeworld, where prisoners fought for the entertainment of crowds. Most did not survive their first match. We will not fight for your amusement, Deho said quietly. Dexrin moved fast. His hand shot out and grabbed Deho's metal arm, squeezing. Deho felt the pressure, heard the metal creak. You will fight or you will die. Those are your only choices. He released the arm and stepped back. Take them to the transport ship. Put them with the others. The Vorgath warriors grabbed them roughly, pushing them toward the airlock. Deho looked back at his ship one last time. Seolhwa's dream. He hoped his daughter would never know what happened to him. The Vorgath transport ship was dark and cold. The crew was thrown into a large holding cell with about 20 other prisoners. Some were human, but most were alien species Deho did not recognize. All of them looked tired, scared, and beaten. One human prisoner, thin and scarred, crawled over to them. New arrivals, he asked, his voice hoarse. Yes, Deho said. What is your name, Jae-sung? I have been here for 3 months. They caught my mining crew. He looked at them with sad eyes. You are going to the arena. I have seen what happens there. It is not good. Tell us, Hana said, sitting down next to him. Jae-sung talked for a long time. He told them about the arena, about the fights, about the champions who won matches and the prisoners who died. He told them about the crowds, the betting, the brutality. The Vorgath believe that strength is everything, he said. They do not understand tactics or tricks. They just hit hard and expect to win. Deho listened carefully. He was already thinking, planning. He looked at his crew. Hana was calm, already analyzing the information. Taewon was quiet, but his eyes showed he was thinking too. Bora looked scared, but she was listening. We are going to survive this, Deho said quietly to his crew. But we need to be smart. The Vorgath are strong, but they underestimate humans. That is their weakness. Bora looked at him. Captain, how can we fight them? They are so much stronger. Deho smiled slightly. Humans did not become the dominant species on Earth by being the strongest. We became dominant because we never gave up. We chased our prey until it collapsed. We outlasted everything else. That is what we will do here. Through the small window of the cell, Deho could see a planet growing larger. It was red and black, covered in clouds. Krelver Prime, the Vorgath homeworld. From space, he could see the arena. It was massive, a structure so large it was visible from orbit. Hana moved next to him. We are really going in there, yes, and we are going to survive. Deho nodded. We are going to do more than survive. We are going to show them what humans can do. The transport ship entered the atmosphere. Through the window, the arena grew larger and larger until it filled their entire view. It was built from dark stone and metal, with towers reaching into the sky. Thousands of Vorgath moved around it like insects. Deho felt his heart beating hard in his chest. This was it. This was where everything would change. He did not know if they would live or die, but he knew one thing for certain. The Vorgath were about to learn that humans were not soft. They were survivors, and survivors did not quit. The cells beneath the arena smelled like blood and fear. Deho sat on the cold metal floor, his back against the wall. The cell was small, barely large enough for him to lie down. Through the bars, he could hear the sounds of the arena above, roaring crowds, the clash of metal, screams. They had separated the crew. Deho was alone in his cell. He did not know where the others were, but he trusted they were still alive. The Vorgath wanted them to fight, which meant they needed them healthy enough to put on a show. A guard walked past, a massive Vorgath warrior with dark armor. He looked at Deho and laughed. Tomorrow you fight, human. Try not to die too quickly. The crowd likes entertainment. Deho said nothing. He just watched the guard walk away. Then he closed his eyes and began planning. The next morning came too quickly. Guards opened his cell and dragged him out. They pushed him through dark tunnels lit by red lights. Other prisoners watched from their cells as he passed. Some looked at him with pity. Others looked away. They brought him to a preparation room. A Vorgath armorer looked at him and laughed. What do you want, human? A sword, a shield? Maybe some armor? Deho shook his head. Nothing. The armorer stared at him. Nothing? You go into the arena with nothing? Yes, the armorer laughed harder. Then you die in 30 seconds. Good luck, soft meat. The gates opened. Bright light flooded in. Deho stepped out into the arena. The sound hit him like a physical force. 200,000 Vorgath were screaming, stamping their feet, demanding blood. The arena floor was sand mixed with old bloodstains. The walls were high and smooth, impossible to climb. Across the arena, another gate opened. A Vorgath warrior walked out. He was huge, maybe 6.5 feet tall, covered in armor with spikes on the shoulders. He carried a plasma mace, a weapon that crackled with blue energy. The crowd cheered his name. Garmoth, Garmoth, Garmoth. This was Garmoth, a veteran gladiator. Jae-sung had mentioned him. 47 victories. Never lost a fight. He specialized in crushing smaller opponents quickly. A voice boomed across the arena, amplified by speakers. The human prisoner faces Garmoth the Breaker. Let the match begin. Garmoth charged immediately. He was fast for someone so big. The plasma mace swung toward Deho's head with enough force to crush a skull. Deho moved. Not backward, but to the side. The mace missed by inches and slammed into the sand, throwing up a spray of dirt. The crowd booed. They wanted to see the human die, not run. Garmoth pulled his weapon free and swung again. Deho ducked under it. Then again, and again. He kept moving, never stopping, never letting Garmoth trap him. The Vorgath was strong, but strength meant nothing if you could not hit your target. Stand still and fight. Garmoth roared. Deho said nothing. He was counting, watching, learning. Every swing Garmoth made followed a pattern. Left high, right low, overhead smash. Left high, right low, overhead smash. The Vorgath had trained in these moves for years. They were efficient, powerful, and predictable. After 2 minutes, Garmoth was breathing harder. The plasma mace was heavy, and swinging it over and over took energy. Deho was breathing hard too, but he had trained in Earth's gravity. Earth's gravity was stronger than the gravity on this planet. Every movement here took slightly less effort for him. Garmoth swung again, the overhead smash. This time Deho did not dodge. He waited until the last possible second, then stepped forward instead of back. The mace came down behind him, missing completely. Deho was now inside Garmoth's reach, too close for the weapon to hit him. Before Garmoth could react, Deho grabbed the Vorgath's arm and used his own momentum against him. It was a basic move from human wrestling, using leverage instead of strength. Garmoth stumbled forward off balance. The arena wall was right there. Deho pushed hard, adding force to Garmoth's stumble. The Vorgath's head smashed into the stone wall with a sickening crack. His helmet dented. He staggered back, dazed. The crowd went silent. Deho moved fast. He grabbed Garmoth's wrist, the one holding the mace. He bent the joint backward, a technique called a wrist lock. Joints worked the same way in most species. Apply pressure at the right angle, and even the strongest warrior would drop their weapon. The plasma mace fell to the sand. Garmoth tried to swing with his other fist, but he was still dizzy from hitting the wall. Deho ducked the punch and struck Garmoth's throat with the edge of his hand. Not hard enough to kill, but hard enough to close the airway. Garmoth dropped to his knees, gasping for air. His hands went to his throat. He could not breathe. Panic filled his eyes. Deho stood over him, breathing hard. He did not pick up the mace. He did not need it. The fight was over. The crowd did not know how to react. Silence stretched across the arena. Then someone started a slow clap. Others joined. Not cheering exactly, but something else. Respect, maybe. Or confusion. In the private box high above the arena, Warlord Thexron leaned forward. His yellow eyes were fixed on the human standing in the sand. Interesting, he said quietly. Guards came and dragged Garmoth away. Another guard grabbed Deho and pulled him back toward the tunnels. As they walked, other prisoners stared at him through their cell bars. Some looked hopeful. Others looked scared. One prisoner, an alien with blue skin, whispered, "You just made yourself a target, human." Deho knew it was true, but that was the plan. They threw him back in his cell. An hour later, guards brought food. Real food, not the thin soup prisoners usually got. They also brought medical supplies for the cuts and bruises he had gotten. Winners got better treatment. That night, Deho heard a whisper from the cell next to his. "Captain?" It was Hana. Relief flooded through him. "You are alive, we all are. I fought today, too. Group match. 6 prisoners against 3 Vorgath guards. I survived by staying away from the fighting and using the terrain. The crowd hated it, but I am alive. Good. Keep doing that. Survive first. Win second. Deho, I heard what you did. You beat Garmoth without weapons. The prisoners are talking about it. Some of them think you might actually have a chance. A chance at what? At living? Maybe even at getting free? but you need to be careful. The Vorgath do not like being embarrassed. They will send someone harder next time. I know Taiwan is working on something. He will not say what. But he has been collecting pieces of broken equipment from the preparation room. Bora is treating wounded prisoners. She is learning about Vorgath anatomy. Weak points. Deho smiled in the darkness. His crew was adapting. That was good. Tell them to keep it up. We need every advantage we can get. Days passed. Deho fought 3 more times. Each fight was different. Once against 2 opponents at the same time. Once in waist-deep water. Once with the arena floor covered in oil, making it slippery. He won every time by being smarter, faster, and more adaptable than his opponents. The Vorgath crowd started to change their opinion of him. Some still wanted him to die, but others began to chant his name when he entered the arena. Human! Human! Human. It was strange hearing them cheer for him instead of against him. After his 7th victory, the guards brought him to a different room. This one was clean with actual furniture. Thexran was waiting there. Sit, the warlord said. Deho sat. He kept his face neutral. You are an unusual creature, Thexran said. Most prisoners fight with fear. You fight with your mind. It is fascinating to watch. What do you want? Deho asked. I want to see how far you can go. I am offering you a deal. Fight 3 of my elite guards in 1 session. If you win all 3, your crew gets better treatment. Better food. Better cells. Maybe even a path to freedom eventually. What is the catch? You fight them one after another with only 5 minutes of rest between each match. 3 opponents. 1 session. Most warriors could not handle that kind of endurance test. Thexran smiled. But you are not like most warriors, are you? Deho thought about it. 3 fights in 1 session was brutal. But Thexran was underestimating human endurance. Humans had evolved to run for hours, chasing prey until it collapsed. Short bursts of fighting with rest in between played to human strengths. I accept, Deho said. Thexran's smile grew wider. Excellent. The match is in 3 days. Prepare yourself, human. These guards are the best I have. They will not be as easy as Garmoth. That night, Deho told his crew about the deal through the cell walls. Hana was worried. 3 fights? That is suicide, maybe, Deho admitted. But it is also an opportunity. If I win, we get better treatment. That means more freedom of movement. More chances to plan an escape. Bora's voice came from further away. Captain, humans have better oxygen efficiency than Vorgath. Our bodies recover faster between exertions. If you pace yourself in the fights, you might actually have an advantage. That is what I'm counting on, Deho said. 3 days later, Deho walked into the arena again. This time the crowd was enormous. Word had spread about the triple match. Betting had reached record levels. Most of the bets were against him. The first gate opened. A Vorgath warrior with 2 plasma blades stepped out. The announcer's voice boomed. Torgan the Blade Master. Deho took a deep breath. 3 fights, 1 session. He could do this. He had to. Torgan moved like water. The 2 plasma blades spun in his hands, creating patterns of blue light. He was different from Garmoth. Where Garmoth had relied on brute force, Torgan relied on speed and precision. His blades could cut through steel. Deho backed away, watching carefully. The plasma blades had a weakness. They ran on energy cells. Each swing drained power. If Torgan kept attacking aggressively, those cells would die. So Deho made him chase. He ran around the arena, dodging and weaving. Every time Torgan got close, Deho would roll away or slide under a swing. The crowd booed again. They wanted blood, not a chase. Torgan grew frustrated. Fight me, coward, he shouted. Deho did not respond. He just kept moving, kept dodging. After 8 minutes, Torgan was breathing hard. His swings were getting slower. Then one of the plasma blades flickered. The energy cell was dying. Deho saw his chance. When Torgan swung again, Deho moved inside the arc of the blade. He grabbed Torgan's wrist and twisted, using a joint lock. The blade fell from Torgan's hand, its energy completely dead. Torgan still had 1 blade, but now he was off balance. Deho swept his leg, a basic move from martial arts. Torgan fell hard. Before he could get up, Deho kicked the 2nd blade away and delivered a precise strike to the side of Torgan's head. The Vorgath went down and did not get up. 12 minutes. First fight done, guards dragged Torgan away. A timer appeared on the arena's display screens. 5 minutes until the next fight. Deho used the time to drink water and catch his breath. His heart was pounding, but he felt okay. He could do this. The second gate opened. A massive Vorgath walked out, even bigger than Garmoth. This one wore no weapons. He was a grappler, someone who fought with his bare hands. His arms were thick with muscle. His name was Velcora, and he had crushed opponents to death with those arms. The crowd roared. They liked Velcora. He always put on a brutal show. Velcora charged. Deho tried to dodge, but the Vorgath was faster than he looked. A huge hand grabbed Deho's shoulder. The grip was like iron. Velcora lifted him off the ground with one arm. Pain shot through Deho's shoulder. He could feel bones grinding. Velcora was trying to crush him. Deho did the only thing he could. He slammed his metal arm into Velcora's face right where the nose would be. Once, twice, 3 times. Velcora roared and dropped him. Deho hit the sand hard but rolled away immediately. His shoulder screamed in pain, but nothing was broken. Not yet. Velcora came at him again. This time Deho was ready. He did not try to run. Instead, he dropped low and went for the knees. Every warrior, no matter how big, needed their knees to stand. Deho kicked the side of Velcora's right knee as hard as he could. The joint bent sideways with a crack. Velcora screamed and fell, his leg no longer able to support his weight. He tried to crawl toward Deho, still dangerous even on the ground. But Deho circled behind him and locked his metal arm around Velcora's throat in a chokehold. Velcora struggled, his powerful arms reaching back trying to grab Deho. But Deho held on, using his legs to stay behind the Vorgath where those dangerous arms could not reach him. Slowly, Velcora's struggles weakened. His breathing became gasps. Then he went limp. 9 minutes. Second fight done. Deho released the chokehold and stood. His shoulder hurt badly now. He was bleeding from several cuts. His breathing was heavy. The 5-minute break started again. This time the water tasted like the best thing he had ever drunk. In the private box, Thexren leaned forward. 2 down, he said to his advisors. But the third will break him. Send in Krell. The third gate opened. The warrior who walked out was different. He was smaller than the others, only a bit taller than Deho. But he moved with perfect control. His armor was lighter, designed for mobility. He carried a short blade and a shield. This was Krell, Thexren's personal bodyguard and the smartest fighter in the clan. Krell studied Deho. His eyes were sharp. "You are tired," he said. His voice was calm. "You are injured, but you will not give up. I respect that. However, respect will not save you." The fight began. Krell did not charge like the others. He moved carefully, testing Deho with quick strikes. When Deho tried to dodge, Krell anticipated it and cut off his escape. When Deho tried to close distance, the shield pushed him back. This was different. Krell was adapting to every move Deho made. He was learning, adjusting his tactics. Deho realized he was fighting someone who thought like he did. They circled each other. Krell struck high. Deho blocked with his metal arm. Krell struck low. Deho jumped back. It was a chess match, each move calculated. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Deho was getting slower. His injured shoulder was making every movement harder. Krell saw it and pressed the advantage. His blade cut across Deho's side, drawing blood. Not deep, but painful. Deho stumbled back. Krell advanced, shield up, blade ready. The crowd was on its feet, sensing the kill. Deho's back hit the arena wall. Nowhere left to run. Krell raised his blade for the final strike. "You fought well, human," he said. Deho's eyes went to Krell's armor. It was lighter than the others, designed for speed. But that meant joints and gaps, and Krell was overconfident now, thinking the fight was over. When Krell swung, Deho did not try to dodge. He grabbed a piece of broken arena flooring, a sharp chunk of stone that had cracked off during an earlier fight. He jammed it into the gap at Krell's elbow joint, wedging the armor plates apart. Krell gasped in pain. His arm locked up, the stone piece disrupting the joint. His blade fell. Deho moved faster than he thought possible. He grabbed the blade from the ground and slammed the pommel into the wedged stone, driving it deeper into the armor joint. Something inside the armor broke. Metal screamed. Krell cried out and fell to one knee, his arm useless. Deho stood over him, holding Krell's own blade. The arena went completely silent. Deho was bleeding, exhausted, barely standing, but he had won. All 3 fights. 1 session. Then the crowd erupted, not in anger but in respect. They stamped their feet and roared. Even the Vorgath could appreciate what they had just seen. A warrior who refused to quit. A fighter who used his mind as much as his body. Thexren descended from his box into the arena. This was rare. Warlords did not usually enter the arena floor, but Thexran walked across the sand until he stood in front of Deho. "You have earned your reward," Thexran said. "Your crew will receive better treatment. You have proven that humans can fight with honor." Deho met his eyes. "What about freedom?" Thexran smiled. "Freedom must be earned with more than 3 victories, but I will give you a chance." He pointed to the Champion's Gate, a special entrance used only by the arena's greatest warrior. "Raktha, the undefeated champion, has heard of your victories. He considers you an insult to the arena. He demands to face you." The crowd roared at the mention of Raktha's name. He was legendary. 83 victories, never defeated, never even injured. He was the pride of the Vorgath, the strongest warrior they had ever produced. "If you face him and survive," Thexran continued, "your crew goes free. That is my promise." "And if I win?" Deho asked. Thexran laughed. It was not a kind sound. "No one has ever beaten Raktha, human, no one. He is faster than Torgan, stronger than Velcora, and smarter than Krell. He is everything you have faced combined into one warrior." "When?" Deho asked. 3 days. "That will give you time to heal." Thexran turned to leave, then looked back. "Enjoy your last days, human. Raktha has never let a match last more than 2 minutes. He will make sure your death is quick." Guards took Deho to a new cell. This one was larger, with an actual bed. They brought medical supplies and real food. Winners got treated better, just as promised. Bora was allowed to visit to treat his wounds. "You are insane," she said while wrapping his shoulder. 3 fights in 1 day was bad enough. Now you accepted a match against Raktha. It was the only way to get us a chance at freedom," Deho said. "Freedom means nothing if you are dead." Bora finished the bandage and looked at him seriously. "I have been studying Vorgath anatomy by treating wounded prisoners. I found something. Raktha has never fought a long battle. All his matches end in under 3 minutes. We do not know what happens if you make him fight longer." "Interesting," Deho said. "So his endurance is untested?" "Yes. Also, he has an old injury on his right leg. You can see it in recordings. He shifts weight to it after heavy strikes. It is compensated by muscle, but it is still a weakness." That night, the crew talked through the cell walls, making a plan. Hana had been observing the arena's security systems. Taewan had completed his secret project, a device that could disrupt the neural collars prisoners wore. If Deho could defeat Raktha, they would have a chance to escape in the chaos that followed. "The whole galaxy will be watching this match," Hana said. "Betting is at record levels. This is bigger than any fight in the arena's history." "Good," Deho said. "Then the whole galaxy can watch humanity prove itself." The 3 days passed quickly. Deho rested, ate, and healed. He studied recordings of Raktha's fights that guards showed to intimidate him. But Deho was not looking to be intimidated. He was looking for patterns, weaknesses, anything he could use. On the morning of the match, Deho stood in his cell and looked at his reflection in the small metal mirror. He looked terrible. Scars, bruises, cuts that had not fully healed, but his eyes were clear. Raktha charged like a storm. The warhammer came down where Deho had been standing a second before. The impact shattered the arena floor, throwing up chunks of stone and sand. If that hammer had connected, Deho would have been crushed instantly. But Deho was already moving. He rolled to the side, came up running. Raktha swung again, horizontal this time. Deho dropped flat to the ground. The hammer whistled over his head, close enough that he felt the wind from it. The crowd was screaming. They had never seen Raktha miss twice. Most opponents did not survive the first swing. Raktha spun, faster than something his size should be able to move. His plasma gauntlet shot out, aiming for Deho's chest. Deho twisted. The gauntlet grazed his side, burning through his shirt and scorching skin. Pain flared, but Deho kept moving.
"Stand still!"
Raktha roared. Deho did not answer. He was counting, watching. Every swing of that massive hammer took energy. Every movement in that heavy armor consumed stamina. Raktha had never fought a match longer than 3 minutes because he had never needed to. He ended fights quickly through overwhelming power. But Deho was not going to let him end it quickly. 2 minutes passed. Then 3. The crowd started to murmur. This was already longer than any Raktha fight in history. The champion was still strong, still dangerous, but Deho was still alive. Raktha changed tactics. Instead of big swings, he started using shorter, faster strikes. He was learning, adapting. The hammer came at Deho in quick jabs, limiting the space to dodge. A gauntlet strike forced Deho toward the wall. Deho's back hit the arena wall. Roktha raised the warhammer high, putting all his strength into one final overhead strike. This was it. Nowhere to dodge. The hammer came down like the judgment of a god. Deho moved at the last possible second, not backward but forward and to the side. The hammer smashed into the wall behind him with a sound like thunder. The stone cracked. Dust exploded outward, and the hammer was stuck, lodged deep in the broken wall. Roktha pulled, but it would not come free immediately. Deho saw his chance. He dove between Roktha's legs, rolling behind the champion. As he came up, he kicked hard at the back of Roktha's right knee. The weak knee Bo-Ra had identified. Roktha stumbled. His leg buckled slightly. It was just for a second, but it was enough. Deho struck the same spot again with his metal fist. This time Roktha roared in pain and anger. He spun, abandoning the stuck hammer, and swung both plasma gauntlets at once. The gauntlets caught Deho across the chest and sent him flying. He hit the sand hard, rolled, and could not stop himself from crying out. His ribs, several were cracked. Pain made it hard to breathe. Roktha limped toward him. The knee injury was affecting his movement now. "You are strong for such a small creature," Roktha said, "but this ends now." 5 minutes had passed. Roktha was breathing heavily. His movements, while still powerful, were slower than at the start. The armor that gave him protection also weighed him down, and Deho had been raised in Earth's gravity, which was heavier than the gravity here. Every movement cost Roktha more than it cost Deho. Deho forced himself to stand. His vision swam. Blood ran down his side where the gauntlet had burned him. His ribs screamed with every breath. But he stood. "Humans do not quit," Deho said quietly. The crowd, which had been screaming constantly, suddenly went quiet. They were watching something they had never seen before. A human refusing to die. A warrior who kept getting back up. Roktha charged again. But this time, after 7 minutes of fighting, he was slower. Deho sidestepped. Roktha tried to grab him, but Deho was inside his reach now. Too close for the gauntlets to be effective. Deho did something Roktha did not expect. He grabbed the champion's armor and used it to pull himself up onto Roktha's back. His arms wrapped around the Vorgath's thick neck in a chokehold. Roktha roared and reached back, trying to pull Deho off. His powerful hands grabbed at Deho's arms, squeezing. Deho felt bones creak, but he did not let go. He locked his legs around Roktha's waist and held on with everything he had. "Get off!" Roktha shouted. He spun wildly, trying to throw Deho off. He slammed backward into the arena wall, crushing Deho between his armored back and the stone. Pain exploded through Deho's body, but still he held on. His arm tightened around Roktha's throat. Roktha tried to slam him again, but the movement was weaker. His breathing was becoming gasps. The chokehold was working. Blood flow to the brain was being cut off. It did not matter how strong you were. Biology was biology. Humans evolved as hunters, Deho whispered in Roktha's ear. We chased animals until they could not run anymore. We did not give up. We did not stop. We just kept going until our prey collapsed. You wanted to know what a human is? This is what we are. We are the species that never quits. Roktha's movements became uncoordinated. His hands, which had been trying to pull Deho off, fell to his sides. His legs wavered. Then, like a great tree falling, Roktha went down to his knees. The arena was completely silent. 200,000 Vorgath held their breath. Roktha fell forward onto his hands, trying to stay conscious. But Deho held on. The chokehold did not require strength now, just position, just persistence. After another 10 seconds, Roktha's arms gave out. He collapsed completely unconscious. Deho released the hold and rolled off. He lay on his back in the sand, gasping for air. His ribs hurt so badly he could barely breathe. Blood covered his side, but he was alive. And Roktha was down. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. The crowd did not know how to react. Their champion, the undefeated Roktha, was lying unconscious in the sand. Beaten by a human with no weapons, no armor, nothing but determination and intelligence. Then someone in the crowd started clapping. Slowly at first. Then others joined. Within seconds, the entire arena was on its feet, not booing, not angry. They were clapping, stamping their feet. The Vorgath valued strength above all things, but they also respected warriors who refused to surrender. Deho forced himself to his feet. Every movement hurt. He swayed, barely able to stand. But he walked to where Roktha lay. In Vorgath tradition, the winner took a trophy from the defeated warrior. Usually this meant taking their head. Deho knelt down next to Raktha. His hands went to the champion's helmet. He could kill Raktha right now. Take his head as the crowd expected. But that was not who Deho was. That was not what humans were. Instead, Deho removed Raktha's helmet. He stood holding it in his hands. Then he walked to where Thexran sat in the warlord's box and threw the helmet at his feet. The crowd gasped. Sparing a defeated opponent was rare, but to spare the champion and then throw his helmet at the warlord's feet? That was an insult worse than death. Deho looked up at Thexran. "I won," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I crew. Freedom now." Thexran's face showed many emotions. Anger, shock, but also something else. Respect, maybe. He stood slowly. The entire arena watched, waiting for his response. "You defeated my champion," Thexran said. His voice carried across the arena through the speakers. "Something I did not believe possible. According to our agreement, your crew should go free." The crowd cheered, but Deho heard something in Thexran's voice. A hesitation. However, Thexran continued, and the crowd went quiet again. "I have a better offer. Stay. Become our new champion. Fight for the Vorgath clan. You will have wealth, status, power. You will be treated as a warrior of honor. Your crew can live in comfort. All I ask is that you continue to fight in the arena." It was a trap. Deho saw it immediately. If he accepted, he would be a slave forever. Just a comfortable slave. If he refused publicly, he would embarrass Thexran in front of the entire galaxy. Deho looked at the crowd. At the cameras broadcasting this moment to billions of viewers. At Thexran standing in his box. Then he spoke clearly and firmly. "No," the word echoed across the arena. "I did not fight for wealth or status," Deho said. "I fought for freedom. Mine and my crew's. You made a promise. Honor it." Thexran's face darkened. "You refuse my generosity?" "I refuse to be your entertainment," Deho said. "We are leaving, all of us." For a long moment, Thexran said nothing. The crowd waited. Then Thexran's hand moved to a control panel. Red lights began flashing around the arena. Guards started moving toward the arena floor. "I think not," Thexran said coldly. "You are too valuable to let go." "Guards, take him." But before the guards could reach Deho, something happened. Every collar on every prisoner in the facility suddenly sparked and died. Taewan's device had worked. He had activated it remotely, disrupting the neural inhibitors throughout the entire prison complex. Suddenly, hundreds of prisoners realized their collars no longer worked, the ones who had been watching the fight from their cells. The ones in the preparation rooms. All of them realized they were no longer restrained. The first prisoner broke down his cell door. Then another. Then 10 more. Within seconds it was a riot. Prisoners from 17 different species, inspired by watching a human defeat the undefeated champion, decided they wanted their freedom too. The arena descended into chaos. Deho ran. His ribs hurt. His side was bleeding, but he ran toward the tunnels where he knew his crew would be waiting. Behind him he could hear guards shouting, prisoners fighting, and the confused screams of the crowd. He found them at the designated meeting point. Thexran was fast. The plasma sword cut through the air where Deho's head had been. Deho stumbled backward. His body was at its limit. Every movement sent pain shooting through his cracked ribs. The burn on his side made him dizzy. But he could not stop now. Not when they were so close to freedom. Thexran swung again. Deho rolled to the side into the shadows of the tunnel. The maintenance tunnels were narrow, which worked against a larger opponent. Thexran's sword hit the metal wall, throwing sparks. "You cannot run forever, human," Thexran said. He moved forward, forcing Deho deeper into the tunnel. Deho's back hit a junction where 3 tunnels met. He glanced around quickly. Pipes ran along the ceiling. Maintenance equipment was stored in alcoves, and there, hanging from a crane hook, was a chain used for moving heavy cargo. An idea formed. Thexran charged. This time Deho did not dodge. He grabbed a piece of pipe from the wall and swung it at the warlord. The pipe hit Thexran's sword arm. It did no real damage through the armor, but it made Thexran angry. "You dare," Thexran roared. Deho backed toward the crane. "I dare a lot of things. That is what humans do." Thexran followed, focused completely on killing Deho. He did not notice Deho positioning himself carefully. Did not see Deho's hand reaching for the crane's control panel. The plasma sword came down. Deho hit the crane's emergency release. The heavy hook and chain dropped. Thexaron looked up just in time to see it falling toward him. He tried to move, but the tunnel was too narrow. The chain wrapped around Thexaron, tangling his sword arm. The hook caught on his armor. He roared and tried to pull free, but the weight of the chain pulled him off balance. Deho saw fuel barrels stacked nearby. They were used for the maintenance vehicles. He grabbed one and threw it at Thexaron's feet. The barrel broke open, spilling fuel across the floor. Thexaron finally freed himself from the chain. He looked at Deho with pure hatred. "I will tear you apart." "Maybe," Deho said. He picked up a piece of broken equipment that still had a spark generator. But not today. He threw the sparking equipment into the fuel. The explosion was not huge, but in the confined space of the tunnel it was enough. Flames erupted. Thexaron screamed and fell backward as the fire washed over him. His armor protected him from serious injury, but the force of the explosion knocked him down. Heavy equipment fell from the walls, pinning him beneath debris. Deho turned and ran back to his crew. "Move now!" They ran through the remaining tunnels. Behind them they could hear Thexaron roaring in anger, trying to free himself. But the debris was heavy and it would take him time. The docking bay was chaos. Prisoners who had escaped were fighting guards. Ships were trying to take off. Alarms were blaring. Hana used her stolen access card to open the bay where confiscated ships were kept. There, covered in dust but intact, was Seolwa's dream. "Our ship," Bora said, relief in her voice. They ran up the ramp. Taewon immediately went to the engine room. "Give me 2 minutes to get the engine started," he said. Hana took the navigator's seat. Bora helped Deho to a chair and started treating his injuries. "You need a hospital," she said, looking at his cracked ribs. "Later," Deho said. "Right now, we need to get out of here." The engines hummed to life. Through the cockpit window, they could see Vorgath fighters scrambling, but most of the fighters were busy dealing with the riot. Prisoners were stealing ships and trying to escape in every direction. "Engines ready," Taewon's voice came through the intercom. "Then let's go home," Deho said. Hana's hands flew over the controls. The ship lifted off. They shot out of the docking bay, past confused guards, past fighting prisoners. Into the red sky of Krelvar Prime 3 Vorgath fighters tried to follow them. But Hana was the best navigator in 7 star systems. She pushed the ship through maneuvers that should not have been possible. The fighters could not keep up. Within minutes, they had broken free of the planet's gravity. "Preparing for jump," Hana said. Her fingers entered the coordinates for human space. The ship jumped to hyperspace. The stars stretched into lines. They were free. They had actually escaped. For a long moment, no one spoke. They just sat in silence, letting it sink in. Then Bora started crying. Not sad tears, but tears of relief. Taewon came up from the engine room and sat down heavily, exhausted. Hana kept her hands on the controls, but Deho could see her shoulders shaking. Deho looked at his crew. His friends. The people who had survived the impossible with him. "We made it," he said quietly. "We made it," Hana repeated. Then she started laughing. It was the kind of laughter that came from surviving something terrible. Soon they were all laughing, even though nothing was funny. They were just alive. But their escape had consequences. The championship match between Deho and Raktha had been broadcast across the entire galactic concordate. Billions of viewers had watched a human defeat the undefeated Vorgath champion, using nothing but intelligence, endurance, and will. Within days, the broadcasts were everywhere. Species that had considered humans weak and primitive suddenly started reassessing. Multiple alien governments demanded investigations into the Vorgath arena practices. The Concordate Council was forced to respond. 2 weeks after their escape, the Concordate voted to ban gladiatorial slavery. The Vorgath clan that ran the arena was sanctioned. Thexaron lost his position as warlord. The Arena of Blood was shut down, and humanity's status in the galaxy changed overnight. They were no longer seen as weak newcomers. They were recognized as dangerous, resourceful survivors. Species that had ignored human diplomats now wanted to open negotiations. The balance of galactic power shifted, all because one human refused to quit. 3 months later, Deho was back on Earth. His injuries had healed, though he still had new scars to add to his collection. He was sitting in a small apartment drinking coffee and watching the news. The reporters were still talking about the arena incident, still analyzing what it meant for humanity's place in the galaxy. There was a knock on his door. When he opened it, a military officer stood there. "Captain Kang?" "Just Deho now," he said. "I am not taking any military positions. I am not here to recruit you, the officer said. I'm here to thank you. What you did out there changed everything for humanity. We have diplomatic requests from species that would not even talk to us before, trade agreements, defense treaties, all because you showed them what humans are capable of. Deho shook his head. I did not do it for any of that. I did it to save my crew. I know, the officer said. That is what makes it even better. You showed them that humans fight for each other, that we do not abandon our own, that we never give up. He saluted. Thank you, Captain. After the officer left, Deho went back to his coffee. His daughter, Seolhwa, was coming to visit that afternoon. He had not seen her since before the capture. He could not wait to hold her again. His communication device buzzed. It was a message from Hana. She had sent a link to an interview request. Multiple news networks wanted to talk to them about their experience. They were offering a lot of money. Deho thought about it, then sent back a simple reply. No thanks, I just want to be with my family. But the galaxy would not forget. In Vorgath space, warriors who had watched the fight began training differently. They started studying human tactics, started recognizing that strength alone was not enough. In the other territories of the Concordat, humans were suddenly interesting, dangerous, worthy of respect. The species that everyone had dismissed as physically weak was now recognized for what they truly were. Survivors, adapters, the species that never quit. Somewhere in deep space, former prisoners who had escaped during the riot were telling stories. Stories about the human who entered the ring unarmed and walked out with the champion's helmet. The human who showed them that freedom was worth fighting for. And on Krelvar Prime, in the ruins of what had been the Arena of Blood, a stone monument was placed. Not by the Vorgath, but by the freed prisoners before they left. It had writing in 17 different languages, all saying the same thing. Here a human showed us what it means to never surrender. Back on Earth, Deho heard his daughter's voice calling from outside. He put down his coffee and went to the door. She ran to him, and he picked her up despite his still healing ribs protesting. Daddy, she said, I saw you on the news. Everyone at school says you are a hero. Deho hugged her tight. I am not a hero, Silwa. I am just someone who did what needed to be done. But you saved your friends. You beat the bad guys. That makes you a hero. Deho smiled. Maybe she was right. Maybe heroes were just ordinary people who refused to quit when things got hard, who fought for the people they cared about, who kept going even when everyone said it was impossible. That night, Deho gathered with his crew one more time. Hana, Taewon, and Bora came to his apartment. They shared a meal and talked about normal things. Not about the arena, not about fighting. Just normal life, jobs they were considering, places they wanted to visit, plans for the future. As they were leaving, Hana stopped at the door. Would you do it again? She asked. If you could go back and avoid all of it, would you? Deho thought about it. He thought about the pain, the fear, the injuries, about how close they had come to dying. But he also thought about what they had accomplished, how they had freed prisoners, changed humanity's place in the galaxy, proven that humans were survivors.